So in this video, we're going to be going into businessizing your life. And this concept comes from another concept of mine that is related to life models. And the premise behind that is that the better the model, the more sustainable whatever you do becomes. So the better the model, the better your life becomes, the more you get out of your life, basically. So higher models are those models that are going to be bringing in more responsibility, are much more connected, are demand much more commitment, and also are much more purpose driven. We can go in a little bit, and I'm gonna have to make a video on this myself. But this concept of businessizing things is something that is very important, as also been very transformative in my life. Right now, I just finished watching a podcast on a family, how the nuclear family is actually not really helpful for the economy and for the world in general, and for families themselves. The nuclear family being the family where it's just the father and the mother and the children. It's just two parents and then the children. They're very much disconnected from the grandparents and, like, horizontally the brothers and sisters of the parents, and also I guess if we're looking at the parents themselves, also diagonally in reference to their nephews and nieces. So the nuclear family is very much cut off. It's just this small bubble. And this podcast was saying that really the key to creating a very just overall better world is to have families succeed, and the only way that a family can succeed is to be living and operating sort of like a company, thinking about legacy, thinking about purpose, and also thinking about service. The way the episode went, and the thing that was very prevalent to me, and the reason I'm making this video, is that the gentleman was saying that he took his family, his marriage, like a business. He talked to his wife, and they sat down and they talked about a purpose and mission. What is their mission as a family? And then they also talked about pillars. What are some main pillars that define our family, that are foundations that really help us understand what we're doing in this world? And so for him, it was hospitality. And I started talking to my wife about it today. And for us, it was creativity, entrepreneurship, broadcasting, so communication, social media, etc., and also spirituality. So those things were, we started brainstorming them last night. And so I'm setting the meeting next week to begin to continue to do this. And just like I'm making meetings with my community, my business, with my now my first employee I just started to talk to. Now I'm in communication with them. I'm doing the same now with my wife. And so this is really like opening my mind and stretching out this concept of businessizing things. At first, I was using it with my business, obviously, where I was turning my passion for talking about spirituality into a business itself. And recently, I started turning my passion for business, bringing that forward into my employment. And so I was able to mold those two worlds together, where I'm able to use my skills that I learned from YouTube and business and teach it around my job. So like my manager and also other people in the sphere are now getting to learn from me in terms of business. And now that I had this conversation with my wife and watched this episode, it's the same thing now. And I'm businessizing my marriage and becoming much more strict on that, because then I understand now that we are a team, that I want to make sure that my wife is bringing her gifts into this relationship, that my son is bringing his gifts into this relationship, and also more importantly, that we are creating the ideal environment for my son to develop himself fully. So you see, now that I'm mentioning kind of those things, you're getting kind of an idea of what it means to businessize something. And that's what I really want to focus on now, which is, what does it mean to businessize something? It just means to transform it into something that serves the world. That's basically it. How do you go from this like mediocre relationship to this empowering relationship, which we call marriage, which allows for the sustainability of a family. And so the only way to do that is service. So when you want to businessize something, you just ask, how can this X serve the world? So then plug and play. How can this relationship serve the world? How can this hobby serve the world? How can this passion serve the world? How can my employment serve the world? And if we think about it, usually, for example, people, when they think about employment, they just want to get their money and go home. That's it. Same thing with a relationship. They just want to have sex and then, do their thing, and that's it. Like, have the romantic, touchy-feely stuff, and that's it. We don't, a lot of individuals nowadays are also very afraid of commitment, so they don't really want to have a marriage. And a lot of people are avoiding having children, at least in my age group. things are shifting now. My circles are changing, so I'm dealing with different kinds of people now. But that's something that I saw very early on in that transition um, from single to married man to also father. Anyways, I'm listing out these examples because if you think about these concepts that we have about these different things, we can automatically transmute them, transform them into something much higher by thinking about businessizing them. And so now this is also leading to business becoming much more universal. And I also want to come into kind of what this means for the business sphere, and also kind of this is kind of also going to tie into spirituality. So when it comes to business, people it's very cut and dry. And if we really look at the way that most people think about business, it is also very much damaged by, for example, salespeople, scams, and personal gain, greed. And that's something I hear all the time, and so it's not wrong. I think that honestly, the systems that are in place for business they're great, they work, but also they're the extreme, and they need a lot more compassion and love instilled. The business sphere needs to transform. It needs to transform into something much more authentic, much more real, much more heart oriented, and that's what my job is here. That I'm trying to do at least one aspect of what I'm trying to do here. For example, how do I transform this greedy, salesy aspect of business? I have to transform it through love and passion, and passion from my heart. Really thinking about compassion, thinking about love, and so it really does become about service. It really does become about really caring, really listening to the problems of society, really listen to the problems of the individual, having the capacity to have the compassion of the individual and really sit there with them and listen. And so this really becomes something that is also very intelligent, very logical, very self-serving also, because it gives you the information to help you solve the problems of the individuals and of the world at large. And so business has the potential to really revolutionize the way that we do everything. I mean, if we think about even government right now, it looks like the government is really going to fall, at least the way that we've been doing government in the past 10 years. It's been shitty. There's so much corruption. And even business also, it seems like there's a transition moving to something different. I mean, even I don't know, I think about YouTube. Like now there's membership, there's push towards memberships, the school community, for example, which is really going to be a reflection of a new way of doing business, which is much more going to be around groups, creating your own tribe, really developing that ability to draw people to you and have them trust you and really believe in you. So that's going to be super important in the future. And the way that I see empires and the way empires are built, we're going to definitely cut off the monopolies. There's not going to be these monopolies are going to go away. They have to go away because they cannot compete with authenticity. People are tired of being sold shit, of being told lies, and so they're going to go to the people who are actually real about their shit and can fulfill their needs while also doing it lovingly and caringly. So yes, so there is going to be that transition most likely. I'm already seeing it. Obviously, I'm already striving to embody that. That is what I believe in. That is what I move forward with. So so that's where now we're going to see this integration of spirituality into business. And it doesn't have to be specifically spirituality in the new age form, in the common new age form, because the new age is really what we're going through right now, really, for speaking esoterically, and the way that it truly is. But disregarding that, spirituality will become more grounded, and there's a lot of teachings that people can implement from spirituality. When we talk about all of us being one, we're really talking about the brotherhood that we are all a part of, the sisterhood. We are all one human family. And so as individuals begin to grow and understand that, they will transform their business and they will transform their approach. And so there will be this whole new upheaval of a new form of business. Now, tying that back to this term of businessizing things. So obviously it's going to be a balance both of understanding how current business works, the sales tactics, or also more so the psychology or the reason why these things work, understanding why, and then also integrating this spiritual aspect of love, care, community, mentorship, leadership. And also, I've been kind of speaking on this where authority isn't so much authority, where now it's more so brotherhood. So for example, me, I see myself as a teacher and leader, but also a brother. So I don't impose my will onto people, and force them in a way to surrender to subjugate them to my will. It's more so now that that aspect of authoritarianism is going to go away, and it's going to turn more into assertiveness. So I am assertive in my boundaries. I am assertive in letting people know this is my time, this is my energy, this is the products I'm working with. If you're with it, be here. If you're not, we can talk about it. And but either way, you know, I'm focused on my purpose. I'm focused on building this thing. So so I don't. There's no fear for me to control people, and there's no fear for and there's no need for any of this authoritarian, like me imposing my will on you. For me, I impose my will on myself, right? Like it's me mastering myself, me moving forward, making sure that I'm clear in my decisions and that I'm clear in the reason and in my emotions and decisions. Like basically, that's basically it. So yeah, so balancing those two worlds is gonna be very important when we talk about businessizing things. But if you want more help with this specific concept, just stay tuned. The concept that I talk about on this channel are going to be very helpful for individuals looking to see how they can integrate all of these different areas of life together so that they can begin to benefit at a much higher pace, and also more so at a much more fulfilling and less pressurizing way. Yeah, we're going to end it there. That's it. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next video. You already know, stay lucid. Peace.